back. Sorry for the little glitch. Sometimes our feed just kind of dips out periodically. I don't think it's just a random thing. So hasn't happened in a couple weeks. We've been really lucky, but thank you guys for being back here with us. CP, thanks for joining back with us and being patient. Yeah, let's go in. Number 1, Trent Williams. Trent Williams is going to be our number 1 free agent on this list.
This was an easy choice. He's certainly a top 5 left tackle in all of football. One of the most important positions that you can invest in a football team is left tackle. He obviously first year in San Francisco this year after sitting out a year with Washington due to being upset with their medical team and staff, and basically sat out a year, got traded to San Francisco, and he's been a lead ever since. He had a great year with San Fran. It sounds like he's probably going to be back with San Francisco. I think he was in an interview on the radio with Richard Sherman yesterday, and Richard Sherman's like, if I had to guess, you're going to be back in San Francisco, which Sherman would love to be back in San Fran, but he doesn't think he will be. And Trent Williams basically said, you're barking up the right tree, which I've never heard. I've always heard you're barking up the wrong tree. But he said you're barking up the right tree. So he's an elite guy that, like, San Francisco, I feel like would have absolutely franchised if they had known that he was going to leave. So I feel like they probably have a deal in place, but there's no doubt in my mind that he's the top offensive free agent in all of football this year, and it's not close.
Yeah, he turns 33 this summer. He hasn't played 16 games in a season since 2013. But, as far as returning to the field after sitting out all of 19, he was every bit elite left tackle. And he's always been healthy. So as far as acquiring him from the 49ers, upon acquiring him from Washington, the 49ers agreed they wouldn't use the franchise tag on him. All of that, yeah, I think you're right. I think they're trying to figure something out as far as the deal goes. With a shortage of quality offensive linemen across the league, I think he's way too valuable for any team to ignore, especially in the open market when he's available like this. So I think that's a big, big piece of it. And he's by far, I agree, the number 1 offensive weapon that you can add to your team, and he's not even going to be scoring touchdowns for you. He's going to be keeping your quarterback upright. So,
A lot of questions from CP Nixon here. Is he older than Brady? He's actually more than a decade younger than Brady. He is 32. He sat out a year, but offensive lineman, like he played at an elite level last year. I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it at all. To protect what QB, that's fair. Obviously, Garoppolo's the guy right now in San Francisco. I think they'd like to upgrade. Don't know if they'll be able to, but they also, when you have a liability at quarterback, the best thing you can do is provide that guy with an offensive line that can allow him time to figure it out. So even if, it's Garoppolo that he's protecting, allowing Garoppolo to be comfortable in the pocket and get that time in the pocket is essential to, obviously, Garoppolo made a Super Bowl 2 years ago. So while he's not an elite quarterback, he's one where in the right system, in the right fit, with a good defense, can make a run. So I think Trent Williams will be back in San Fran. If he's not, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. So obviously, I think Trent Williams, I mean, he's a beast. So you can't really go against what he's got to offer you. So that wraps up all of our top 10 NFL offensive free agents. If you agree, throw it in the chat. Let us know if you know that you want to put in for any of these free agents and you're just like super excited for, the Broncos to pick up a couple of these guys or your own team to pick up a couple of these guys. Throw it in there and let us know whether or not you think it's going to be a good fit for your team in particular or whatever that looks like. So we'd like to hear your opinions and get those. So That's going to wrap that up. The next topic we have before we move on is going to be March Madness. So March Madness is already here. It is March, and we are almost to the point of Selection Sunday. We are getting there. Now, we have some teams that have punched their tickets already and are ready and off and running to the tournament. They just are playing the waiting game. So as far as that goes, we have some teams on this list that are going to be going straight to the tournament here, and that is going to be the Zags as of last night. So you'll notice I'm repping all of the Zags here.
I'll ask you a question. If they didn't win their conference tournament, would they have made the NCAA tournament? I would say probably not.
They wouldn't have been close. They would have been out. No, they would be still probably number one potentially overall seed, given the fact that they just have just dominated throughout the season. They had a scare last night in the tournament, and it ended up being one of those close games towards the end of the second half. But CP Nix in the chat, when did Scott get a BBC?
Not sure what a BBC stands for. So
if
it's appropriate in the chat, just throw it. I know what a BBC stands for, but I'm not sure.
I think we're
doing this.
We might. I have an idea, but I'm not gonna. We won't throw it out there quite yet. So as far as some of the other teams go that booked their ticket, so Liberty ended up out of the Atlantic Sun Division with a record of 22-5. They ended up beating Stetson to win that title. Their leading scorer, 15 points. Darius McGee is going to be their guy going into the tournament. That's going to try to keep them above water. But this is their fifth tournament appearance and their first since 2019. So their team that made it already, Ohio Valley, Morehead State Eagles, 23-7. They beat Belmont to earn their ticket. This is their eighth appearance, first time since 2011. We have the Winthrop Eagles at 23-1, only one loss. Big win over Campbell in their title clincher, 80-53. This is their 11th trip in their first since 2017. The Missouri Valley, we have the Loyola Chicago Ramblers, 24-4, 75-65 win over Drake to earn their ticket, seventh appearance and their first since 2018. From the Sun Belt, unfortunately, DU wasn't competitive in this one, but Appalachian State Mountaineers ended up taking this with a 17-7 record overall and a clincher over the Georgia State team that lost by 7. Was fairly close game, but just couldn't hang in there. This is the third trip for the Appalachian State Mountaineers and their first since 2000. So they've kind of been in the mix a little bit. From the Southern Conference here, we have the UNC Greensboro Spartans, 21-8. They are winners over Mercer to get their ticket punched. This is their fourth tournament appearance in their first since 2018. So they've been out of the mix for a little bit, but they're back in it. UNC Greensboro. Most recently, a couple days ago, we had the Horizon League champion Cleveland State Vikings with a 19-7 record beat Oakland. So nice 11-point win over Oakland. This is their third appearance in the tournament and their first since 2009. So it's been a while since Cleveland State's been in the mix there. As far as the NEC, the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers, tongue twister there. Ends up with a 12-10 record. Not the most powerful win-loss record of these teams making the tournament. But they beat Bryant, so their sixth tournament appearance and their first since 2017. And our final final three, Drake Dragons end up getting in, 12-7 record. They end up beating Elon in their clincher. So this is their 5th tournament and first since 1996. So welcome back, Drexel. They're back in it.
That was Drake, I believe, is what you were talking about.
The Drexel Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oral Roberts Golden Eagles 16-10, 72-75 win over North Dakota State, and this is their 6th trip to the big dance and their first since 2008. So it's been a while for Oral Roberts since they've been in. And finally, last but not least, the Gonzaga Bulldogs with a 26-0 record. Struggled a little bit with the championship game, the WCC championship game against BYU last night. They were down, I believe, what was it, 10 or 12 at halftime, and ended up coming back to win by 10 there, which, I felt was a really, really big win for them because as far as that goes, I always think going, towards the end of the season, that they don't get challenged enough in some of these games to where they have that scare factor of, oh shit, we need to get our things together because we're not playing very well right now. They always just dominate everybody. So I kind of liked some of the adversity they had to go through in that last game. It's going to feel really good, but they have punched their ticket over BYU. This is their 23rd appearance and their 22nd consecutive appearance into the tournament. So they obviously are no stranger to being in the big dance. So these are the teams that have already punched their ticket. We have a lot more teams and a lot more conference tournaments to continue through over the course of this next week. So we are going to be keeping you posted on all of those and having more for you on Sunday. But as far as these teams go, we're getting there. We're populating the brackets.
Yeah, I mean these are teams that are fun stories. They're going to make it. Obviously, Gonzaga is the outlier of this group. They're the only team that's going to be, favored even in a game. The team outside of Gonzaga I'd look for the most is Winthrop. Right now on bracketology, they have them as a 12 seed, and if you guys pay attention to the brackets, those 5-12 games are tough matchups and often upsets. And ironically, right now, they're matched up in the 5-12 game on ESPN.com against Colorado. So it's Colorado is the 5 seed, Winthrop is the 12. Should be an interesting. Not that game will happen, but it's ironic a little bit that they're facing the local team that we have here. We have obviously Colorado is going to make the tournament, which is super exciting. CSU right now is just teetering on the edge. They're one of the last 4 in, according to bracketology on ESPN. They play their first conference tournament game tomorrow. They got to win a couple games to make sure they get in. We'll see what happens there, but for CU and CSU to both make it into the tournament would be pretty exciting for us in Colorado and locally. So hasn't happened in a while. Neither of these teams are what we call prolific or powerhouse basketball programs. So both teams have had great years. Colorado's a 5 seed's amazing. Colorado State doesn't have a senior on their roster. So next year is really the year to look out for, as they're going to return everybody and they're going to be super competitive and should be one of the better teams in the country. So exciting times in college basketball in Colorado, which is not, we can't say that often. So we'll see with these automatic qualifiers. A lot of them are going to be, your 15, 16 seeds. But Winthrop's the one I would look out for outside of course, Gonzaga.
Yeah. Gonzaga is definitely, they're the favorite to win it all. So, when it comes to that, that's exciting. I'm definitely going to be all over watching Gonzaga and how they perform, especially, they've made it to a couple, finals, and I think they have a really, really good chance. This is the best chance they'll ever have. Their team is absolutely just crazy talented. So as far as that goes, I still have the memories of them losing to UNC and that was a tough one, but this is the year. But I do agree with you on the Colorado side of things. I just hope typically with the Colorado teams making it in the tournament, they usually maybe make it like one and done. They maybe win that first round, but they typically don't win that first round. They haven't historically performed very well, especially with CU has historically had a good team with Tad Boyle, coach who has been a fantastic coach over the course of his time with Colorado. So I think that he has a big opportunity here to push maybe 1 or 2 wins into the tournament. I don't see them going super far, but to have that representation in Colorado is definitely something that is needed because they're not getting it from the football teams. And I know CU football has been a little bit better recently, but not still anything worth writing home about. But the basketball teams have some fun opportunities. The CSU team is a nice young team that I'm super excited to watch as well. So we'll see how that ends up going.
They both haven't made the tournament in the same year since 2012. CU's the last one to make it in 2016, so it's been a 5-year hiatus there. The last time CU did win a round in 2012, which before that their only win in the tournament was 1997. CSU did win a game in 2013, so more recently, but prior to that it was 1989. So not a lot of success. CSU before 2012 only made it in 2003. So for them both to make it would be a lot of fun. And even if they don't advance far, which I'd be shocked if either of them, CSU maybe wins one, maybe CU gets crazy and wins like 2 games, but don't see more than that. So but it'll be fun to watch them,
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a little more rooting interest in some local teams that we don't often get around here.
100%. It's going to be exciting. So the rest of the week, between March 10th, March 8th, all the way through the 13th, there's going to be and through the 14th, there's going to be all the big tournaments. The Big Ten tournament, March 10th through the 14th, notably. The SEC is going to be an interesting one with, Alabama playing really good basketball, Arkansas. Some of those teams are playing fantastic. So the SEC is going to be a nice one, March 10th through the 14th. That'll be a fun one to kind of see how that plays out. Pac-12 is played in Las Vegas, March 10th through the 13th. And let me see, Conference USA, same thing. So there's a lot of big ones. The Big East will be playing March 10th through the 13th as well. So it's going to be a fun week. Big 12 coming up. Your Jayhawks.
Yeah, they're without one of their main guys, and unfortunately, in David McCormick, their main big man who is under COVID restriction and protocols. So he's going to be out for the Big 12 tournament, but it sounds like he'll be back for the NCAA tournament based off Bill Self's press conference either yesterday or the day before. I don't remember at this point, but so we'll see how long of a run they make. Without him, they're going to play real small ball and have to figure out how that works. So we'll see what happens. To me, the Big 12 tournament's not that important. Let's get everyone on the same page. I don't expect Kansas to make a huge run this year. CP Nixon in the chat, CU wins more games than KU odds. I'll give you I'll give you plus 150 odds on that. So 1.5 essentially on whatever you want to bet, which I think is fair. Based off of Kansas is rumored to be around a 3 or a 4 seed, and CU at a 5 right now. So I think you're basing that off heart. I think CU might be one and done. Be surprised if Kansas was in the tournament, but I'll take that bet at plus 150 if you want to go.
Hey, there you go. You have it out there. We got betting going on just live right now. Just throwing them out there. CU's history isn't exactly in their favor when it comes to that. When it comes to tournament wins. So I think KU's definitely got the edge there. But hey, you get the right odds, you never know. There's also been some upsets with KU early on in tournaments as well. So you could be banking on some big money. 2K CP says he'll throw out some 2,000.
He's been drinking, I think. But let's go. Let's go. Let's do that 2K bet. I'd like to make a little money this weekend. Or, well, not this weekend, but, once KU makes it further in the tournament than CU does.
Oh, speaking of making money, I just checked the Dallas Mavericks score, and the Mavericks ended up getting a 115-104 win, which completes my 4-team parlay from yesterday.
Nice.
So I just cashed in big. I don't even know what I cashed in, but I cashed in. So, hey, thank you, Luka Doncic, for putting another big effort in. I don't even know what he had, but I'm sure he had a major effort in getting that win. So there we go.
You're thanking him. He could have got hurt in the first minute, and you're like, thanks. I'll tell you what he got.
I'm a Luka fan anyway.
He messed around and got a triple-double. 22, 12, and 12.
I guess that's kind of okay.
Yep. 9 out of 20 he was 2 of 10 from 3, so struggled from there, but everywhere else he was good.
Yes. So, speaking of the NBA, though, that's our nice little transition. We are going to wrap up our show with our tier list because we know we wanted to get to that. We are towards the end of our show, so we're going to kind of cycle through these tiers a little bit quicker than we have normally done. So, we might not get to everybody on this list. We're going to probably focus on some of the bigger names and some of, those guys as opposed to some of the smaller names on this list, just based off of time because we, obviously are up against our deadline here. But we want to stay with you a little bit longer. If we go into overtime, hey, who doesn't love overtime games and overtime excitement, right? So let's go ahead. Let's dive into some of these and see what we can do as far as getting some of these tiers decided. So let's go ahead, dive in. Now, there's some interesting names here. We're going to maybe start in the middle of this list and see where we want to start. If you're looking at this, Scotty, I know you have trouble seeing some of these a little bit based off of the size of the window.
I was gonna be random and say, what tier maker list did you go off of? Which we should have established prior to the show. We apologize.
It's fine. But let's just I'll throw out a couple names right now, and maybe we can just start sliding some guys in. So let's go ahead and slide in some guys maybe in the middle of the road. So maybe, average to above average range. Now we have a Marc Gasol here. Marc Gasol, he's joined the LA Lakers and he's, been helping out a little bit, but obviously that team is really heavily influenced by LeBron and, AD. So how much of an impact so far has he had on the Lakers this year coming to his new team, and where would you slot him on this list?
He would be down quite a bit on my list. I don't know. He's averaging under 5 points a game, 40% from the field, still shooting well from 3, 4 rebounds in 20 minutes. And he's not exactly an elite defensive presence. He's just not the guy he used to be. I would rank him below average, to be honest. I don't see him as an impact player at the center position whatsoever, and would be surprised if he gets meaningful minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's not exactly been a highlight reel by any means, and he hasn't exactly pushed him over the edge. Usually, they're losing games based off of what LeBron and AD aren't doing, right? Or if they're not in the lineup. And he hasn't exactly just done much to help them out. I would agree he hasn't had a major impact on his overall team. And I think that's been one of the biggest reasons why I would put him a little bit lower on this list. So, as far as some of these others go, I'd be curious to see your boy. Your favorite player from the All-Star game, Rudy Gobert. Now, obviously, he's been, a solid player for the Utah Jazz. He's not the sexiest guy to watch on earth, but where would you put Rudy Gobert on this list if you had a choice?
I'm just looking at this list, and it's borderline where Anthony Davis is. So I don't see him on this list, and I don't remember if we had him on the power forward list, which I'd rank AD in front of Rudy here. But without AD, like Rudy's he's an all-star level to me. He does provide a lot. He's an elite defensive player, no doubt. He's given Joker fits through the years. Honestly, he's one of the tougher matchups. Although Joker this year
Dominated
played
him.
well against him. Prior to this year, he's given him a lot of problems. Even in the playoffs last year, Joker didn't is probably his worst series against Utah in that first round. His length gives him problems. He's been a defensive player of the year. His offensive game is pretty limited, but he can finish at the rim. He can get offensive boards. He can put it back in. He doesn't hurt you on offense. He's not a guy you just throw it to him in the post and hope he creates something offensively, but he's an all-star level at this stage of his career, even though you don't want to watch him in an all-star game because he provides in an all-star game where you don't care about, or most of the players don't, and you want to see offensive highlights. He's not that guy.
Yeah. No, he's definitely not exactly a highlight reel when it comes to he blocks. He's good at rebounding. He's not exactly a great guy when it comes to seeing any Sports Center top 10 lists, but he can definitely fill the stats, and he can definitely do some crazy good things when it comes to getting his team to the point where they're at, and that's exactly where they are. They're one of the top teams in the West, if not one of the best team in the West at this point, and it's because of his defensive ability. He can be that guy that can just alter shots down low that people are scared to go into the paint because of what he can bring. So I think that does qualify him as that all-star level. I would also, I think a no-brainer here is Vucevic here. Vucevic has had a fantastic season, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. He's top 5 in player efficiency rating, and he was in the all-star game. So I think that there's, that's kind of a shoe-in for what he can bring to the table.
Yeah. No, I think he's certainly right there. He's been a guy that's been around for a long time and isn't necessarily someone that people get excited about, but he was deserving of the All-Star nod. He's played great this year for Orlando, and he's right there.
Yep. Okay, so let's dive in. Where would you put? So one of these guys on here is on a really awful team, and I'm talking about Karl Anthony Towns. Now, obviously, the Minnesota Timberwolves are absolutely atrocious, but I mean, he's definitely one of the best younger, athletes in the NBA. One of the better centers in the NBA. Where do you think he would slot in on this list?
I think he's at the All-Star level as well. I'd probably, I'd rank him over Vucevic, even though his stats may not fully reflect that. He's on a team devoid of talent and really relied on to carry that team this year, unfortunately. But he can shoot it from everywhere. He's shooting 37.5% from 3, 50% from the field. He's averaging a double-double, 22 and basically 11 from the field. And he's done that for his career. He was, I don't remember if he was the number 1 pick, but if he wasn't, he was a top 3 pick for sure after 1 year at Kentucky where he dominated. And he's proven to be one of the elite post players. And his offensive game is certainly superior to either of those other 2 guys. His presence is where he maybe lacks compared to those other guys. But if you like offense, you rank him in front of those guys for sure. But he's definitely on that all-star level for me.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely slots in. He's definitely one of those guys that I feel if he wasn't hurt this year and if he had a little bit better of a team, he would have potentially made that all-star game. And I think there's a combination of a few things that have just gone wrong when it comes to, those types of accolades that come with him.
He's only played in 16 games this year, so you can't take a ton from that. But in years past, the problem with him is he's just started at such a high level that he hasn't necessarily progressed a ton. So he's kind of the same player he was as a rookie. But him as a rookie was elite. So
Yeah.
um, nothing wrong with that. He hasn't fully taken it to that next level. But last year he averaged 26.5 points. So
Yep.
that's nothing to play around with. I would if I was starting a franchise, I'd certainly take him over either of those other two all-star guys.
Yeah. Another guy that you kind of described a little bit in that sense is Christian Wood. Christian Wood in Houston, he's one of those guys, young kid, and he's kind of shown out. He's only played in 17 games, so similar to Karl Anthony Towns, he hasn't exactly played a ton, but when he has played, I mean, he's a top 5 player in player efficiency rating in the NBA. I would say he goes down here since he's young and he hasn't played as much, but he's got the potential to be up here consistently moving forward in the NBA. He is. People are hyping him up to be some big name in the next couple years, and I think he's definitely going to be there.
I can't for the life of me figure out why Detroit didn't try and keep him. And they were signing centers left and right. They signed, Plumlee obviously from the Nuggets and had a heavy center roster, but let Christian Wood walk. And you're right, he's shooting 56% from the field, 42% from three. He's automatic from anywhere. He's not a defensive presence like you'd think necessarily, but not a negative on that side. And he's on a bad, obviously, Houston team, and only played 17 games. But in those 17 games, he's played phenomenally well. Has done averaged a double-double. He's averaging 10 boards a game in only 31 minutes, which isn't a ton of minutes.
No.
He's doing it all in 22 points and 10 rebounds with the Rockets. He's right there. I agree. He's probably the above average just because he needs to prove it for a little longer. He's got 31 minutes, which is about 8 minutes more than any other season in his career so far that he's ever gotten. So prove it a little longer, and he's an all-star player. But so far in the minutes he's played this year, he's been great.
Yeah. Let's fill in a couple more on this above average. I think a couple more that potentially slot in here are going to be in the range of Jared Allen, who has been traded. He was traded from Brooklyn to Cleveland, and he's kind of been one of those guys that you hate to see him go because of what he can do. He is also in the top 7 in player efficiency rating when it comes to what he's been able to do for not only Brooklyn early on in the season, but what he's carried over for Cleveland. And he's been a little bit of a bright spot. He's a nice young kid that just athletically he's like that guy from what was that video game that popped up it was like with the players in the afros and like the NBA Street. Was that the one?
NBA Street. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like an NBA Street poster child, man. He's awesome and he's just fantastic. And he's a lot of fun to watch. He has some crazy blocks, some crazy dunks, and yeah, he's playing very, very well for a Cleveland team that isn't very good either. So I would slot him on that above average as well.
Yeah. Another guy to talk about, and I can't see the faces down below, but I assume DeAndre Ayton's on there.
Correct.
He's an above average guy for me,
Yep.
for sure. Obviously that Suns team is kind of taken off this year with that backcourt of Chris Paul and Devin Booker, but DeAndre Ayton's right there contributing a ton, averaging a double-double like we talked about with 14 and a half and 11 and a half rebounds, efficient from the field, a defensive presence. He's a big dude. Nothing to complain about there. He's helped them become one of the top teams in the West. Kind of out of nowhere, obviously They proved themselves in the bubble last year, but they still didn't make the playoffs last year. So the addition of Chris Paul, along with his evolution, and Aiden, has really contributed to that team being a top 4 team in the West right now.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton, he's definitely going to be growing. I think he's a product by far of some of the players around him. He's been very very good when it comes to adapting to Chris Paul and Devin Booker and being able to have some of that presence down low. So he definitely fits in that mold there. Another one that I would probably slot in here is not having maybe as great of a season as last year is Bam Adebayo in Miami.
Yep.
He's still a young guy that's going to be around for a long, long time doing some big things for Miami. So I think he's a guy that slots in there. As far as 33 minutes per game, he's played 33 games. He's pretty, he's healthy. He's got, a lot of just presence when it comes to what they need down low from their big guy there. So I think Bam Adebayo fits in as well.
Yeah, he was the second best player on a team that made the NBA Finals last year, so
Yep.
certainly above average.
Yep. All right, perfect. Now we have a couple up top. I know, we are kind of running low on time here. But before we get to the ones on top, is there any that you would fit maybe not below average, but maybe not above average? Because kind of being that average, maybe just do a quick rattle off on maybe a couple names here that would fit in that category.
A former Nugget that's hit the injury bug a ton. That's a little unfortunate. So it's hard to place where he is. But when he plays, he's borderline above average to average. Is Nurkic. Hasn't played a ton this year due to injury, which is kind of a staple for him. But when Nurkic plays, he's certainly average to borderline above average for Portland, an important piece and their best big they have. So hard to place him this year, but Nurkic is a guy that's, when he's healthy, he's certainly a top 10 center, if not closer to top 5.
Okay, got that. We got, let's see, Andre Drummond is another one here. He's kind of been up and down, and he's got some value, but I don't know if he's necessarily been like more in that above average kind. He's been kind of like yo-yoing. He'll have some stretches where he's kind of above average, but then he'll have some stretches where he's kind of, down below a little bit. I think he's got a lot of value, but I think he kind of, I would take all 4 guys above him before I took Andre Drummond in this. Partly because he isn't exactly a guy that can, I don't know. I wouldn't trust him to, I think he's there. He just is back and forth for me.
He's a great defensive player, great rebounder. He's not at the level of offense that some of these other guys are, and certainly not anything with range. He's not an outside threat, doesn't shoot threes or anywhere near that, which is good. He shouldn't, but he's basically on a team in Cleveland where they're basically, I assume at this point, just portraying him out there. They're trying to probably move him. They probably want to, trade him, from all reports I've heard, and see what they can get. So they're trying to feature him as much as possible, but he hasn't overly been. I mean, he's shooting 47% from the field in general without a guy that threatens the outside. So he's struggled offensively, but he's once again on a team where he's devoid of some talent in Cleveland. Although they have some weapons on offense, they're better than they have been. But he's a guy that I think they're just looking to move that contract. So we'll see what happens with him at the deadline, because I expect him to be on a different team soon.
Yeah. No, he's definitely going to be on a different team. It's just where he's going to go. I think I've seen some different reports for a couple different teams, so we'll see. All right, so Miles Turner is on this list as well. I think he's one of those 1-2 punches in the Pacers, and I think he's been playing very solid ball over the last couple years. I still think he's kind of in between here too. I don't know if he's really stood out this year as much as he did last year, though. I kind of tend to lean towards maybe a little bit more on the average side. Sabonis has kind of taken that team and kind of put it on his back, and I think they play off each other really really well. I could see him going in either of these positions here, but I think I would lean more towards average if I'm falling on one side of the fence.
I'd agree. I think he's average.
So
he's like the epitome of average, in my opinion.
He's definitely had better seasons. Clint Capela is another weird one. So Clint Capela, he's been in trade rumors as well for Houston. I mean, he's a top 6 guy in player efficiency rating, but he doesn't necessarily always strike me as somebody that's above average in the league either. So I think like he's a product of being one of the best players on that team that's left in Houston. It's not a very talented team that's there. He averages about 32. He's played 32 games, averages about 29 points a game. Where would you slot him?
So the jersey's confusing, and I think that's why you said Houston. He actually got moved to Atlanta this year.
I mean, Atlanta.
So
yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just saw the picture there, which is a Houston Rockets jersey. I know you knew.
Yeah.
To me, he's an average guy. Like Houston signed him after they had a Western Conference playoff run when they had Harden and Chris Paul actually, and he played great in that playoff run. They signed him to a long-term deal, and then like a year later, they were ready to get rid of him. So that kind of tells you, in a game that's kind of devoid of elite centers, he's not one of them, and I'd put him at average.
All right, let's do it. Let's go into the top 2. There's 2 guys on this list that kind of stand out. One is Cody Zeller, and one is.
Yep. I thought you were going to say Cody.
Cody. One is Cody Zeller. The other is I don't even know. Valanciunas. Let's go. Al Horford. No, just kidding. No, we are going to be putting Big Joker up top. Probably the best season he's had as a professional. He's absolutely insane. He has 50 triple doubles to his name, and he's just putting up numbers that are just absolutely ridiculous. He had his all-star appearance this past weekend. Obviously didn't show up because he's not exactly like an all-star like player. He was calling for alley-oops all game, and no one was giving him an alley-oop. I don't know if you watched some of that, Scotty. He was just like every time one of those guards or anybody got the ball on the 3-point line, he was just calling for it, just like put it up. I want to go get it, and no one gave him an alley-oop, man. Like just throw him a bone. But that doesn't take away the fact that he's the best center in the league, and arguably the best center in the league, next to Joel Embiid, which Joel Embiid's below average. No.
These are. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is the biggest debate because these guys, if you look at their numbers, they're almost identical. We talked about this on a previous show where these guys have pretty much identical numbers in most categories. In the categories that they are, one's better than the other, they offset with another like stat. So assists for Joker end up being I think blocks or rebound. I don't know, one of the other stats for Embiid. But like overall, their usage, their 3-point percentage, their field goal percentage, I mean, a lot of it is very, very similar across the board when it comes to what these guys are putting up. They're both top 3 in the NBA MVP race. So the fact that you have 2 centers in that race is crazy, first of all. And second of all, like, these guys are just performing, both of them, on a super high level. Joel Embiid having the best season of his career. He's just tearing teams up. He's hitting threes left and right. He's playing good defense. I think that's the biggest thing that Joel Embiid brings that maybe Joker doesn't, is the defensive presence. That's the one thing that Joker is still kind of getting, built up a little bit further, because if you put both of these guys together and you want someone to get a big stop at the end of a game, you're taking Joel Embiid in that position. So I think that in this case, man, these guys are both just unreal to watch at the moment. So they both fall in the elite category. I'm biased towards Joker. I just think he can do a lot more. He gets his team more involved. He has so much more to bring to the Nuggets team that he's on. I think Joel Embiid, he's got some talent around him, but I mean, Joker's at parts of this season has been the only guy on the court for the Nuggets and put everybody on his back. I mean, there's injuries that have been happening. There's been players that haven't been performing to the ability that they should be, and Joker's just been doing everything for this team. And so, from that standpoint, I think that Joker is definitely, maybe I'm biased, my nod to the best center in the NBA.
I think I'm somewhat impartial because on one hand I have Jokic, who's obviously a Nugget. I'm a big Nugget fan, local guy.
KU boy.
Appreciate my Nuggets. But then I got Joel Embiid, my KU boy. He only went to KU for a year. Broke my heart. So he got injured right before the NCAA tournament, and KU with him was borderline best team in the country. And they ended up losing in the second round of March Madness because Embiid wasn't playing. He had a bad back. He actually, that bad back about. He was drafted, I believe, number 3 overall by Philadelphia and sat out that first year. Really didn't play a ton that second year. It took him so long. And I heard rumors that they were just going to move on from him. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because at that time, Joker wasn't necessarily a thing in Denver. I was like, please, for the love of God, Denver, take this guy. I knew how good Embiid healthy was. He was a guy that took you in college basketball as a freshman from the number 1 team in the country to like the number 30th team in the country. That's how good he was as a true freshman in college. And he hadn't developed fully, certainly that outside shot that he has now. So I think I'm somewhat imbalanced, and these are impartial. I'm sorry. These are 2 elite players deserving of being top 3. I think they should be the top 2 in MVP voting in the NBA right now. Right now, the odds are Joel Embiid's actually number 1 in odds for MVP voting. LeBron's 2 and Joker's 3. And I definitely think that's wrong. I would take Joker. And it's not that it's not close, but it's pretty clear to me that Joker's a better asset for Denver. And maybe it's just a fit with team. Maybe it's depending on your other roster. But for Denver's vantage point, even Philly, I would think Joker is like a 7-foot point guard, which you've never seen in the NBA. You have Embiid, who's averaging 30 points per game, but on 52% from the field. Fine. Joker's averaging 27, but he's on almost 57% from the field. He's averaging 41% from 3, almost 42. And Joel's right there. The ones, Embiid's 41.6, right behind him. The only thing that Embiid really has an advantage on is 3 points per game. Win shares wise, Embiid's at 5.8, Joker's at 8.3, PER. Joker's in front of him. There's no doubt. And granted, yeah, you're right. Embiid's the better presence in the paint, better defender in that regard, but he's not a guy that you can just he can switch on any offensive possession and guard a point guard or this or that. He just has the length and height to him. In a game in today's world where the biggest difference is Embiid's averaging 3 assists per game. Joker's almost at 9. So to me, Joker's carried Denver through some times where their depth, first of all, was hit this offseason. And now you have a team that had an injury bug, and Jamal wasn't quite playing at a level early on in the season, at least, where Joker was carrying him. And these last 4 games before the All-Star break, Denver was playing their best ball. Murray was playing really well. Joker was playing really well. Porter was playing pretty good. We'll see if they can continue that going forward. But To me, I think it's a no-brainer. That the reason Joker isn't the clear MVP choice right now is because he's not a guy like that's going to provide the highlights for you to watch. It's not a guy that's like he's fun to watch. He kind of has an old man game to him, even though his passing is a ton of fun to watch. His athletic ability just isn't there, and it seems like that's an important piece for people because otherwise he should be a no-brainer right now. Granted, Nuggets record is worse, but he's been the best player in the NBA, in my opinion, this year, no doubt.
I mean, some of the shots he takes are insane. If you watch a Nuggets game, just from start to finish, and you just see some of the shots that he takes, not only that, but if we're talking about elite, I always think of guys who can take the shot at the end of the game. Joker is a guy that can take a shot at the end of the game and you don't feel that it's a bad shot. Like you're getting the ball in the hands of one of the best guys on the team to make a shot, and he's made them. He did it against a lot of teams over the course of his career with last-second shots. This past season, he hit a shot to push the game into overtime. I can't remember if I think we ended up losing that game in overtime. I think that was against the Kings potentially, if I'm not mistaken. And so, I mean, he's comfortable taking those last-minute shots. He wants to take them, and he'll take them from anywhere. And you feel like, if the ball's in Jamal's hands or if the ball's in Joker's hands, sure. But, like, of these two, if you're telling me I need a last shot from either Embiid or Joker, I feel so comfortable with Joker taking that last-minute shot, and that's what pushes me over the edge for him as one of those guys who can make those buckets when you need them the most. So that's kind of that all-star quality that maybe doesn't show up in the stats. It doesn't, like, I think there are stats of, like, clutch, last-minute shots. You can find those. But Joker can make them, man. He can do them. And I think that's a big X factor for him.
Yeah. That the pick and roll game that the Nuggets usually feature, in the second half of the fourth quarter in a close game between Murray and Jokic is, I would put that pick and roll game above probably anyone else's pick and roll game in the league. Even LeBron and AD or something like that. Like, they're unguarded, especially if Murray's bubble Murray and hitting shots. Like, you cannot guard the pick and roll with Murray and Jokic. They're both great passers. They're both great vision. They can hit shots. They're not afraid to do it. They're dominant, which the Nuggets haven't had something like. Obviously, they had Melo for a stretch, but they have two guys now that can, take over and win games in the fourth quarter, which is huge.
Well, it's kind of poetic too. I love watching the Nuggets play with that pick and roll. And, Joker hands the ball off to Murray, dribbles in. Everyone sinks back into the paint. And Joker just stays out at the three-point line, kicks the ball back, and hits the three. Like, it's just you just know it's coming, and you still can't defend it. You know exactly what's happening. And that's what's so fun to watch about that. Like, there's nothing anyone can do defensively. And then not only that, but, I mean, now that Michael Porter Jr. is starting to play a little bit better, you have two options that are going to be whether you kick back to Jokic and Jokic shifts the ball to the opposite end of the court or whatever that looks like. I mean, you got to watch out for, some of these other players that can hit shots, especially Michael Porter Jr., who's proven that he's getting better and better, and he can hit those shots more consistently as of late. Those last 4 games before the All-Star break, the Nuggets went 4-0, and he was a big factor in that, getting double-doubles in each of those 4 games. And so I think the Nuggets are trending in a direction that I'm really excited to see how they end up, looking on the post-All-Star stretch. So we'll see, but I'm with you. I think Jokic lines up as the top elite center in this league, and honestly, I think he should be in number 1 for MVP, in my opinion. But, obviously there's a lot of heads out there that think that, LeBron or Joel Embiid are much better in that position, and that's for them to debate. So, But that's going to be our list here. We didn't get to all of them. I know we're in overtime on our stream, so thank you so much for lasting a little bit longer with us here. We really appreciate all the love. We had a lot of viewership this show, Scotty. I mean, I've been kind of keeping an eye on who's been popping in and who's been popping out, and we've had a lot of people rolling through. So thank you so much for being a part of this show. Checking. I think they all came to see your new setup, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably it. I posted pretty aggressively on the fact that I'm going to have lighting in the background and the microphone actually close to my mouth. So
yes. So keep joining us for anything that we have going on. I think we're still doing the Friday stream. Joe in Facebook chat, thanks for the follow. Vic, thanks for the follow. Also, Fedatiri, thank you for the Twitch follow. So a lot of follows rolling in. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. It means so much to us. Hit that follow button on our Facebook, on our Twitch, or on our YouTube, because we are going live multi-stream on all three. I promise we're still working on the Facebook chat, so that's going to be available to come back hopefully on the next stream. But we've had a lot of people joining us here on this stream.
Yeah, no, that's great to see. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully, we're providing some fun and some content to get you through the week every week, and appreciate you guys following and look forward to chatting it up with you guys. We love people in the chat. Obviously, if you watch today, like anytime someone chats, we're going to get you involved and we're going to reference that and talk about it. So feel free to get in there with any questions or comments you have, and we'd love to talk about it.
Even if they're outrageous, even if they're crazy, it makes it that much more fun to talk about. So just keep it rolling, keep having fun with us. We will see you here back in the lab. I think we're going to be I'm not sure about the Friday show. I think we're still going to do the Friday show with all the memes. So if you have some memes, shoot those to our social media that you see on the screen right now, and we will make sure that those if you have any solid ones, we will get those shared on the stream, and we'll hit you up with that credit for sharing those. So that'll be a lot of fun. We have our optimal prime picks of the week coming up on Friday, so you can help me make those picks. We didn't do it last week because we were doing our NBA Top Shot special. So we're back at it, trying to get above the line when it comes to all of our bets. And I love your insights on that as well. So, and then Sunday. Now, when do we have Selection Sunday? Is that coming up this weekend, right?
It's this Sunday. So when we go on air, we'll know the bracket.
Yeah, so we are going to be Sunday's a big one, guys. Make sure that you're here Sunday. Make sure you're following all of our different areas so you know when we're going live, all the different platforms that we're on, because that's going to be a really, really fun show to break down. And that's going to be, looking at all the different regions, who's coming in, and who's going to be the number one seed. So I think we have a good idea on the number one seeds, but then who's the number twos and the threes and the 5-12 matchups and all those we can help you build your brackets so that you guys can potentially take home your office pools or whatever that looks like. So don't miss it. It's must see. I think we're going to start prepping for that here, early on in the week, because it's just going to be super exciting for us to cover as well. So we will see you guys Friday, and don't forget Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. It's hump day, so only a couple more days to get you through, and then we are on to some big March Madness. So love you guys. Have a great night, and we will see you on the next one.
Appreciate you all.